So this is the day one that we're going to start with. Day one. Yesterday was the introduction lecture that we have seen it. Today is the day one of the module number one. And the module number one is your firewall. So basically, we're going to talk about the firewall, which is called as an ASA. Those who have never worked on the firewall, this is the first time. That is completely fine. We're going to start from the scratch itself. We're going to learn about what is firewall, why we need the firewall, what are the different segments which will be a part and parcel of this, and many other stuffs. So let's understand from here itself, understanding the firewall. Again, the concept is the same. Anyone who wants me to repeat it, any of these slides or any of the concept, just type R. R stands for repeat. If you have made a note of that, please type D for that when I'll ask you to make a note. And if you have questions, you can type the questions any given moment of a time. No problem at all. So let's start with understanding the firewall. So who are these hackers who are trying to break into your computers? Today, worms, viruses initiate the vast majority of attacks. Worms and viruses generally find their targets randomly. The attacks happens randomly, right? Most of the time, according to the reports, 80% targets are random attacks. Okay, only few 15 to 16% attacks are there, which are the legit who they want to make them attack, like the person or some other kind of industries or some other kind of assets they want to attack. They are the one which they know these are the attacks and you want to do it. Otherwise, the majority of the attacks are random attacks. As a result, even the organization with little or no confidential information need firewall to protect their networks from these automated attacks. Okay. Everyone needs something to protect it. So what is security domain? A network security engineer must protect valuable resources within a network. For example, corporate data might be confidential or critical to the operation of a business, in which case it must be kept from prying eyes and protect from getting tampered. To protect these resources, the network must somehow be divided into two portions, trusted and untrusted. The trusted portion of the networks are called as security domain, and the untrusted portion of the domain is called as outside or internet or something like that. Let's talk about this slide over now, the sketchbook. Think in this way. You have an organization. This is your internet. This is your internet, correct? And this is, we call that as scary internet. Why? Because this is the place where the hackers are there. This is the place where the attacker sits. They need to do the attack. Without internet, we can't do anything. So our organization, our company needs to connect to the internet, right? If they want to reach out to the remote locations, remote branch offices. So this internet, where the attackers are being present, we need to protect our company. So there will be a first router. I hope everyone knows what is the meaning of the router. This router will be called as customer edge router. See, customer edge router is the first router of your company. Okay. So from wherever you start getting the internet and so on. So behind this, you might be running your 3-tier of hierarchy, a class architecture, ACI architecture, and multiple stuffs are there. You could run with the 3-tier of hierarchy, which is called as core, distribution, and access layer. I think everyone should know. Those who doesn't know about it, just write it as I said it. Those who doesn't know about it, just write 3-tier of network hierarchy. This is the topic that you need to learn. 3-tier of network hierarchy. core layer, distribution layer, and access layer. Wherever you have your organization devices, network devices, servers, clients, whatever the devices are being present over there, that is the most trusted portion that you trusted because that is your organization, correct? And this internet is called as untrusted because you don't have any trust over there. This is the place where the hackers are basically being present down the line, right? So the trusted portion of your organization is called as security domain. Okay, this is being given as name called as security domain. It will come, this terminology will come in near future again and again. So the trusted portion of your network is called as security domain. This is the one which we call as, and that is the place where you have all your trusted, because that is your part and parcel of your organization, right? And this is untrusted portion where the attackers sits down the line. So to protect these resources of your organization, the network must somehow be divided into two portions, a trusted portion and an untrusted portion. The trusted portion of the network where you trust, where your own devices, maybe a 2-tier of hierarchy, maybe the 3-tier of hierarchy, that is known as, and that is called as your security domain. Everything inside the security domain is protected from everything outside the domain. The most common and the effective way to implement a security domain is to place a firewall at the boundary between the trusted and the untrusted portion of the network. Just think in a way. You have a building, you have an organization. Multiple floors are there. So many employees are working here. So many employees are working here. And to provide their protection, there must be a security gate, right? Maybe you are living in an apartment culture. You might have seen that in the apartments also, there will be a security gate, right? And there will be a security guard. This is your security guard. This is Bob. And she's Alice. Correct? What is this role of the security guard? To provide protection. Protection in the sense, who can go inside, who can come outside. Simple. This is at the main entrance itself. The security guards at the security office, security gate at the main entrance. In a very similar way, a firewall as a design perspective will always be placed at the perimeter level. It will be placed where? At the perimeter level. What is the meaning of the perimeter level? At the edge. You can think about this is the edge. Just before your customer edge router, you're just going to place a firewall, which is going to provide you the protection. Firewall. So point number one, where you deploy firewall? At the edge, perimeter edge, you can say that, just in front of the customer edge, so that your entire trusted domain will be protected from your untrusted. So between trusted and untrusted, the firewall has to be placed. A firewall has to be placed here. Now see this. This is important. What was the basic idea behind it? Yes, you can do it, Ashraf. Why not? You can absolutely do it. I'm talking as a best practice. Okay, you can place the firewall just before or just after. You can do that also. It is completely fine. Depends on that. Okay, I'll tell you the use cases also of that, when to place it before it and when to place it after. So what is the basic idea? What is the main goal of basically to have a firewall? What is the main goal? Listen it. To provide the people in your organization with an access to the www without allowing the entire world to peek in. To erect a barrier between an untrusted piece of software, your organization, public's web servers, and the sensitive information that resides on the private network. So, what is this main idea? I'll come back to the same, explanation. Say, for example, there is an organization. Bob is working. Alice is also working over here. Bob and Alice. And there is the security guard in the office. Over here, there is a tea stall, a Starbucks, coffee shop. This Bob working on the 5th floor. Via the lift comes, reaches to the security gate. Bob is having an ID proof, an ID card. Will this security guard, what do you think, will allow Bob to move outside? What do you think? Will this Bob will be allowed to move out? You have a cup of tea or coffee by the security guard? Yes, he will be, right? He will be allowed. He will go out, have a cup of tea or coffee, comes back again. Will the security guard will stop him? Will security guard will stop him? Majority of the time, because you have the ID card, he will be allowed to move and back to the work. There's so many people working in an organization. Just think about the college. They just gonna see your ID card, right? And then you will be allowed to move inside. But think in another perspective. Nitiz is there. I'm not working in this particular premises. I don't work in this company. I come at this particular gate. Will I be allowed to move inside? No, I'll not be allowed. Why? Because I don't have any ID proof. It doesn't work over here. This is not my organization. I don't have anything to prove that I work in this particular premises. But might possible Nitiz had a meeting with the Bob for sales, for marketing. So what I can do is I can tell the security guard over here that, boss, I have to meet Bob, and this guy can confirm it over the mail. Maybe I have something on the printout. Maybe I'm having certain SMSs, or maybe I can connect them over the call or something like this. This security guard will have my entry on the register or maybe on the computer. And then I'll be allowed at the reception area to talk with them, to have a meet with them. Same fundamental concept is there for the firewall. A firewall is being placed at the edge level, at the perimeter level. Firewall is protecting your, what I said it earlier, a security domain. What firewall is doing? It is providing protection to your security domain. And this firewall, which is connected to the internet, which we call as what? Scary internet. So if Bob, which is part of your security domain, Bob, which is a part of your security domain, if Bob wants to go out to the internet, he will be allowed. But anyone from the outside world will be dropped. That is the same thing as happening. See, this is what is written, the main goal, to provide the people in your organization with their network devices, with an access to the www, but without doing what? But without allowing the entire world to peek in. No one can come. Yes. So is it like no one can come from the internet and talk to the Bob? No, you can, but you need to write an entry, remember? And that entry over the period of time we will learn is called as nothing but called as ACLs, access control list. So firewall basically acts as a barrier between your security domain and untrusted portion of your organization. Okay. So what is the main goal of the firewall? To act as a barrier. It will allow the people in your security domain to reach to the internet, and it will drop those who are coming from the untrusted world back to the trusted world. Am I clear on this particular statement to everyone? Everyone, this is clear? Quickly, repeat. Anyone want me to repeat this? Good. I'll be moving to the next segment now. So basically, firewall as a word, keyword, is a metaphor. Building architects use firewalls and fire doors as a precautionary measure to contain the damages. Now, this is the word, how the origin of the firewall came into the market. The source is Wikipedia. So what are firewalls? Now think in that way. The architects used to have a wall so that they can protect it from the fire. Fire doors used to be meant. So if a fire breaks out from one zone of the building, these walls and these doors are intended to contain the fire to that consigned zone until the firefighters can extinguish the fire. Similarly, Since starting, I'm saying network is divided into multiple zones. Different security requirements could be there. So you place a firewall to control what passes from one zone to the another zone. Simple. So this is a box which blocks. And it is up to us being an administrator what should be allowed, what should be blocked. So a network firewall is intended to control what passes from one zone to the another. So what could be the definition of a firewall now? A network firewall is a system, could be a group of systems. See, what's the use if you have a firewall and it went down? There could be any XYZ reason, earthing issue, hardware failure, software failure. There could be n number of issues could be there. But if that device went down, it's a bottleneck, isn't it? It's a black hole. If the main door is blocked, no one can go out, no one can come in. So we have a concept of HA, high availabilities. It is very important. If one goes down, like backup, think in that way. If one device goes down, another device would be there at the back end to take or consume the traffic. So a network firewall is a system or a group of systems used to control the access between the two networks. Again, security domain and the untrusted network. How is it possible? Because it's being pre-configured in that way. A firewall comes with a pre-configuration. So if I'll talk one simple topic over here, sink into that way, you might have heard about a word called as a router. Router is a layer 3 device. Yes, router is a layer 3 device. What is firewall? Firewall is also layer 3. It works at transparent mode also. We'll talk later in the segment. But both are, a router and firewall works at layer 3. What is the difference between a router and a firewall? So router by default allows everything, right? If it's the routing table is there. Router by default allows everything. If the routes are there, that is quote unquote, right? I hope you understand it. So by default, router allows everything. When it comes to the firewall, firewall by default blocks everything. This is the main difference. Main difference between the router as well as the firewall. Okay. So router allows everything. Firewall blocks everything. Another important point on the router. Can I restrict the traffics on the router? Can I block any kind of traffic on the routers? Yes, you can do that. How? Write an access list. We will talk about ACLs much more in detail, maybe day after tomorrow. Thursday lecture is all about ACL. You write an access list to control the traffic. What traffic should be allowed? What should be denied? Because router by default allows everything, right? So we need to write an ACL to control the traffic, what needs to be get denied. Because by default, it allows everything. In a very similar way, the firewall, you need to write an ACL here also. But to do what? To permit the traffic. See, there is how quick it is. The firewall and the router, both are layer 3 devices. But one allows by default everything, one blocks by default everything. Okay. If you want to allow, right, the traffic from the www, okay, to move inside your security domain. I hope everyone now understand what is security domain, the trusted portion of your network. If someone is coming from the internet and there is a firewall at the perimeter level which is being placed, you have to write here the access list so that the firewall should allow that particular traffic in the security domain. This firewall can be placed too. As a redundancy, you can talk about it. As a high availability, you can talk about it, and many other stuffs. So I think by now, everyone should know what is a network firewall. A firewall is a system, is a group of systems which will be placed at the perimeter level, which will be allowed the traffic to go from security domain to the internet. But from the internet, everything will be by default blocked. One-way direction is there. Why this is being possible? Because the firewall is being defined and configured in such a way. It's a pre-configured rules are there. We will talk about pre-configured rules. There are filters, which is already being done, which is already being created on the firewalls for this particular segment. Now, these firewalls which you are talking about can be either a hardware or it could be a software. Okay. In today's world, where we talk about the virtualization, in today's world, we talk about the VMs. The traffic is there at the virtual level also. So you need the firewalls at the physical architecture level also. You need the firewalls at the VM levels also. Okay. So both the flavors are there. We have the firewalls with hardware also. We have the firewalls with both the software also. You can use the combinations of both also. There is no restriction on that. So firewall can be composed with the router. Say, for example, as I mentioned it earlier, when you have a router by default allows everything, right? But when you write an access list on the router to block or to deny the traffic, so we consider this as a router-based firewall. Okay, we consider this as, or you can make a zone-based firewall concept also on the routers, which we're gonna learn. Multiple routers again with the redundancy. Windows, if you have seen it in your Windows laptop, you can go into the control panel. There is Windows firewall is there, right? Multiple hosts running with the firewall services and the software. Dedicated hardware appliances are there. The companies like Palo Alto, Fortinet, Checkpoint, Cisco, all are coming over here. SourceFire, SourceGuard, right? These all comes over here as a physical hardware appliances with the vendor based. They all are being designed to provide the firewall services or any of the combination you can use it. They vary greatly in designs, functionalities, architecture, as well as cost. See, basically, more the money you're going to provide it, more features you will get it, more granularity you will get it on the functionalities. So obviously the cost will go high, right? So each firewall, see, you have the firewall, just think in this way. We have, I'll address the question. We have the firewalls. We have the firewall in your Windows machine, isn't it? When you go into the control panel, why we need Palo Alto? Why we need Cisco's firewall? We have firewall in your system itself, but they don't have that much functionalities. They comes by default with the Windows. They are good for an individual devices, but what if you want to protect the bunch of devices, the devices which does not have the firewall services? Say, for example, in the world of Internet of Things, right? IoT, everything is getting smart. Your TV is getting smart. Your refrigerator is getting smart. Your lights, your washing machine, your dishwashers, everything is having the IP. Just on basically from your mobile app, you can control them. How? Because there is an IP being assigned to them. But do you think that for those particular devices, the firewalls are there? No, right? So there should be a particular device who will be placed at the perimeter level just before the internet, who can provide protection for the end devices. So a firewall can be there at a system, but not so granular. The design perspective, the features are very less. That's the reason we go and opt for a hardware vendors. But I believe that the return traffic should be allowed by default. Otherwise, I have to allow. Yes. That is where the concept Ahmed comes as stateful, if you might have heard about it. We'll talk about it. Okay, Ahmed, you're correct. The return traffic has to be allowed. Otherwise, unnecessary, you'd need to write the ACLs on top of that. Is what is called as stateless firewalls. Right? So a firewall can be in hardware. A firewall can be a software. Give more money, get more features. Simple concept, boss. Not only in firewall, everywhere. Everywhere. It all depends on the money. So till now, we have already talked about what is the firewalls, what are the different segments of the firewalls and all, right? You got an idea, basically. So Cisco also has its firewall. This is the vendor which we are talking about, right? And they used to have PIX as a device in their early stages. Later in the year 2005, they have introduced their first firewall, which is called as ASA. Adaptive Security Appliance. ASA. I hope everyone knows the OSI layer model, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 7. Okay. So this ASA predominantly works where? At layer 3 and layer 4. IP and transport. And this firewall was doing absolutely perfectly fine. Everything was perfectly fine for this. IP filtering, source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, everything was perfectly being figuratively done over here. You can block anything down the line. So this Cisco ASA was doing very good in the year 2005. Very nicely done. Majority of the projects to the Cisco has come because of the ASA at the protection level. But slowly and slowly, at the back end, there is one guy who's working very hard. And he also started building a very good organization, which is called as Palo Alto. Okay. Nitiz was the name of the engineer who does all those things. He's the principal engineer for the checkpoint. First stateful firewall. We'll talk about what is stateful firewall. He is the main chief engineer for that. He started building a company in the same year. So if I'll just show it to you quickly, have a look. So you'll get a better picture and clarity on this. Okay. See this. I'll talk from the Wikipedia directly. See this, Palo Alto Networks. So if you see the history, Palo Alto was founded in 2005 by an Israeli American called as Nitiz. He's the former engineer for Checkpoint, NetScreen Technologies, and was the first principal developer of this first ever stateful inspection firewall. So coming back over here, so the company has been started. See this, if you watch any good Netflix series, what happens is two stories goes parallel each other, right? And in the climax, both get merged. That is the same thing I'm gonna do it. So one is the story of Cisco, one is the story of the Palo Alto. We're gonna merge them in the climax. That is the main thing. So you can get a better understanding what I'm trying to say. So the same year when Cisco has introduced ASA to the world, Nitiz has started a company called as Palo Alto. Cisco has already grabbed the market by this time. 2005, 2006, they have grabbed it. But in 2007, Palo Alto has introduced their first firewall. This is called as next generation firewall. What is the name? Next generation. Now the point should come in your mind. Who has given this particular terminology? What is this next generation? So to start with this next generation, I'm coming on that, Anil. I'm coming on that. It is a stateful firewall. So when it comes to the next generation firewall, It is basically a device which is, to start with, is a stateful. And it is basically a device which provides you advanced features, which can do the inspection at layer 7. Very good. Layer 7. Because ASA was working only at layer 3 and layer 4, right? Or layer 7, the payload, where the malware is being attached, is completely skipped out. This terminology was given by name of a company called as Gartner. Question: what is Gartner now? It is the leading company right now who does the analysis. So Gartner is an analytical company. So in today's world, in the good organization and the big organization, before I buy, just think it, I have to buy a good car. So there should be a particular person or a team, or there should be a company who can give me the analysis, a report. Which car is best, which car is wrong? What are the pros and cons? What are the differences between them? Gartner is the same thing. So Gartner is basically an organization. It's a company which generate their reports and tell that for this year, this is the number one company for SD-WAN. This is the number one company for SD access. This is the number one company for your AAA, and so on and so forth. SDN and whatever the technologies are running around the globe. So this next generation firewall terminology has been given by Gartner actually. And in the year 2007, Palo Alto has introduced their first product. The company produced and shipped their first product. And Gartner released the publication defining this next generation firewall. Okay. From 2011 onwards, there is a gradual story which is going on. And trust me, it is very interesting. Palo Alto become a leader. Palo Alto becomes a leader completely. So what has happened now? The market share of this ASA firewall keeps on going down. The market goes down tremendously because everyone is trying to shift towards a Palo Alto. Before I go to these two things, a third story, let me start it, and then I can combine these two things together. Till now, we have discussed about what is a firewall. A firewall is a particular device which is being placed at the perimeter level. Correct. A firewall is a device which provides protection to your security domain. There are basically broadly two types of firewall being classified. One is called as stateless firewall, which, to be honest, in today's world, in 2022, no vendor has this kind of firewall. It's gone. It's a legacy. And the another type of firewall is called as stateful firewall. Now, what's the difference between a stateless firewall and a stateful firewall? One is intelligent, one is dumb, you can say that. So this is an intelligent one. What is the perimeter? Edge. So firewall is being placed at the edge of the organization, Ahmed. Okay. Perimeter, not parameter, it's perimeter. Okay. That is what I told it earlier. So coming back over here, I hope everyone over here knows and heard about a word called as hub, and there is a switch. Between the hub and switch, who is more intelligent? If I may ask you, between a hub and switch, who is more intelligent? Switch is more intelligent. Why switch is more intelligent? It learns. Yes. It learns something. It builds something. It builds a table, which we call as MAC address table. In a very similar way, a stateful firewall learns something which a stateless doesn't do it. Doesn't do it. A stateful firewall is firewall which basically builds a table and learns the thing. Think in this way. I have a Bob. Okay. Bob is connected with this particular firewall. And Bob needs to go to the internet. Bob needs to go to the internet, right? What I said it. This is your security domain, correct? And this is your untrusted portion. Everything from the Bob will be allowed towards the internet, but anything from the internet is not allowed. I hope everyone must have heard about TCP, three-way handshake, or any other kind of thing. UDP traffic is also three. I'll explain with respect to the TCP three-way handshake. What is the first message? SYN. So what will be the reply? SYN plus acknowledgement. What will be the reply? The SYN plus acknowledgement. So if Bob wants to reach out to a particular server over HTTP, so Bob is going to send the SYN packet towards the server. This is my SYN packet. Because it is going from your security domain to the untrusted, this should be allowed. Fantastic. But when the return traffic is going to come, which is called as SYN plus acknowledgement, if this firewall is a stateless firewall, this packet will be dropped. Why? Because it is coming from the untrusted portion towards the trusted portion. And this basically annoys most of the organization because the traffic has initiated from inside. It's a return traffic. It's not a new traffic. It's a return traffic. It's a revert which is coming. It has to be allowed. So a stateless firewall used to drop this thing. And then again, how you can allow it? As I mentioned it earlier, you need to write an ACL. That is where the changes happen. Instead of stateless, all the firewalls in today's world has changed to stateful. So what stateful does? What stateful does basically? A stateful firewall basically builds a table, learns it. It learns something. And what it learns the packets. It builds a connection. It stores about that connection. So when this SYN packet in the starting, which is being sent, the first packet, the firewall builds a table and make a note of this. Okay, Bob is going to the server with its IP, the port numbers and all those things. And this packet which is coming right now is a revert from server to the Bob. So it has to be allowed. This is called a stateful firewall. A stateful firewall or basically the stateful firewalls are those firewalls which builds the connection table, which builds and learns about TCP, UDP, not only about these two ICMP, multiple, all the protocols which is passing through these particular devices. So a stateful firewall builds a connection table. It learns that Bob has gone to the server, so server is trying to give in the response. So the response should be allowed. That is where the stateful comes into the picture. So I hope you got a little bit idea. I'll show you this as a practical scenario where the more clarity you will get it with the practicals. So coming back to that, as if now the routers you can say about it, Anil. The routers, few of the routers where you write the ACL, you need the ACLs if you have done it. Today's world, there is none of the device which is stateless. All the vendors, all the devices are stateful. Okay? The routers, the old generation routers, the old devices used to be there, PICs and all. Before the PICs also, they used to do with the stateless. But in today's case, today's generation, by 2022, none of the firewalls, none of the devices are stateless. So coming back to our story, ASA, which year? 2005. Cisco has introduced it. Doing good. Where? At layer 3 and layer 4. Layer 3 and layer 4. They're doing good. But in 2007, a new terminology has came into the market. What is that? Next generation firewall. What is the next generation firewall? A device which does the inspection at layer 7. A device with this concept is called as one box and one GUI. I'll explain this also in a few minutes. What is the meaning of this? Why this is called as one box and one GUI? Because Cisco was predominantly relying on a device called as ASA. ASA is a device which does the inspection of layer 3 and layer 4. Question comes at what Cisco does for layer 7. So they used to have their own IPS devices, intrusion prevention system, a device which does the layer 7 filtering. It's a dedicated 4 or 5 days lecture IPS, which again will come. I'm doing an introduction. There is a device which does layer 7 inspection. So what is next generation? So Palo Alto did what? They introduced a box, one box, single box, okay, which does layer 3. Same box does layer 4. Same box does layer 7. You got my point? Cisco was doing what? One box for layer 3 and layer 4, another box for layer 7. Two different boxes, two different, think in a way, electricity goes, two different boxes, right? Two different management, two different RBACs, role-based access control. Everything is being separated now, right? Instead of one. That is where the customers, the companies started moving towards where? Towards this next generation. Baba, one box is there, one management IP is there, one administrator is there. If he has the knowledge or she has the knowledge, they can do from layer 3 to layer 7. Why to have two different boxes? You getting my point? So that's how, if you see this, Palo Alto has introduced their first product at the enterprise level. And later they move into the world of next generation firewall. First come, first serve, boss. Any of the field, if you are new, if you are in the starting, your name will be become. No matter who is coming next, they will always be the second guys. So this next generation firewall, which Palo Alto has introduced, layer 3 to layer 4 to layer 7, has actually hampered a big time Cisco. Now Cisco has to do something. The series, the Cisco of the ASA, see, every product has a series, has a number, has a name. So the ASA series is called as 5500 series. What do you call that, guys? It's a 5500 series. Completely end of life now. I'm just talking about the legacy and the history. Completely end of sale. End of life as well as end of sale. This box has an issue. Layer 3 to layer 4 only. Now Cisco has to come into the market to compete with what? The Palo Alto. What Cisco did the best? What they are doing the best? They acquire the companies. They do what? Acquisitions. They are the big fish. They throw the money and take out the vendors. And the first productive, I must say that the first productive acquisition that Cisco has done is the year 2013. They have acquired a company called as SourceFire. Remember this. They have acquired a company called as SourceFire. They were not behind the company. They were behind the engine of the company. Just think in that way. Mercedes is behind BMW's engine. They don't have to do anything with when you talk about the Formula One racing, right? Red Bull was first taking with the Mercedes, McLaren, right? They are the one which are providing them the engines. Ferrari, they are behind the engine. Engine is the main component, right? So Cisco was in talking terms with the SourceFire just because of their engine, and the name of the engine is Snot. What is the name of the engine? Snot. It's an engine. And it is well-known engine. Martin Rausch was the name of the engine. No, sorry, for the name of the guy who has introduced the Snot in the year 1998. Very old. Snot is the engine, SourceFire is the company, Martin Rausch is the name who has invented that engine. 2013, Cisco acquired SourceFire, whooping $2.9 billion. Can you imagine? $2.9 billion. They have acquired it. For what? For this engine. So that they can put it in where? 5500 series. For what? So that they can come into the world of one box, one GUI. What they can do it? One box, one GUI concept. Cisco acquisitions, you see this? I'll open Wikipedia to get an idea. See, the Cisco is good in acquiring. Since 1993, they started acquiring the companies. Hundreds of companies they have acquired by now. So in the year 2013, July, precisely, you see this? My bad, it's 2.7. I have written 2.9. SourceFire is the company. So SourceFire is the company. If you see this, is the name of the company, which has an engine, which is called a Snot. And this Snot is an open source, which has been done by Martin Rausch. It's being founded by this. He's the CTO. And in the year 1998. So Cisco was not behind SourceFire. Cisco actually want this Snot engine. Okay. And they get it. They actually done it. That they got this particular thing. So what happens next? Now it's an interesting story. I'll remove this out. So you got an idea. 2005, Cisco ASA, fantastically good. Layer 3 and layer 4 only. 2013, Cisco has acquired engine called as Snot. Now here comes another interview question. Chalo, Cisco got another engine which is called as Snot, which works at layer 3. What is the name of the engine which is present in the legacy ASA? Remember this name. The name is Lena, Linux over ASA. The name of the engine which works at layer 3 and layer 4 is called as Lena engine. Okay. So this Lena engine was there with Cisco. What series I have told you? 5500 series. Cisco got it, a new engine which is called as Snot. Cisco tried this engine with their 5500 series. They got the engine, right? But they didn't know about whether it is going to be a successful mix and match or not. With ASA 5500 series, they tried to put both Lena and Snot. And the result was what? Failed. They got failed in this big time. They got in panic state. They want to do something. I believe most of you might have heard about CSR, ASR, ISR routers. Cisco tried with these routers also, but the answer was failed. So what they have to do, and they are running out of time after spending $2.9 billion, still the fail, everything is getting failed. They have to do hardware change. They have to do what? The hardware change. And then they have introduced a new ASA with the new hardwares, with the new operating system, which is called as Async OS. But the new is with the X in the last. So might possible over the period of time, most of you have seen ASA 55, it's written X in the last. That means that is the device which has both the capabilities. So if I'll just write it down here, Cisco ASA model, say for example, see this, there is an X in the last. You see this? If I'll show you certain of the images, the old generation boxes, see everywhere it is written what? 5512X, X, X meaning Snot is there. If you see a particular product like this, these are the old boxes. You see that? Is there any X in the last? No. That means it's only a box which is at layer 3 and layer 4. So you see this ASA 5505. Is there any X? No. So only Lena engine is there. 5510 Lena engine. 5520 Lena. 5540. These all are gone. These all are gone, completely gone. These are the old guys. Legacy boxes. What we need now, what is the need of an hour at that time? Cisco ASA 5500 series, but with X. So if you see these X models, right? With this X, if you see that, not this one, I don't think so. No. Product family, I'll open this. This is also on the verge of, this is your X model, which we are talking about. Right? Do you see that over here? They have written also 5505, end of support. 31st August 2020, end of support. EOS means there is no support. E of L means end of life. The sales is also being done. 55050. Now this is 12X. Okay. Now this, if you have pen and paper, please make a note of this. Please make a note of this. This box, this series is part of your CCI lab. This is the box which is your part of the lab. 5512X is a part of, this will be tested in your CCI lab as a physical architecture. On this box, you need to do your configurations. So X meaning is, what I'm trying to tell here basically is, what is the meaning of the word X? So X here is SNOT has been indulgent to that. But the problem doesn't, see, if you want to run a business, right, you should be doing good, as well as you should know what is your rivalries are doing, what your basically opponents are doing. You need to have a better analyze on that, what they are doing, what are the new things they are coming up, what we are lagging. Palo Alto is doing very good. Palo Alto is doing that concept very, very nice. They knew, because it's not a small acquisition, isn't it, guys? It's a $2.9 billion acquisition. It's not a small. The buzz is around. Everyone knows about this particular thing, that Cisco has acquired SNOT. So these guys are the one who are going to find out the loopholes. So they started doing this. Boss, buy our product. So Cisco, when took this, they have introduced 5500 series with X. They were confident, bang on confidence. Boss, we're gonna grab the market again. What? We have one box. All features. We have one box and all the features. We are doing from layer 3 to layer 7, guys. Come and take our boxes. But Palo Alto come with one more thing. Take our boxes. One box. All features. But one GUI. And that is the loophole with this ASA 5500 series. Meaning is, at that time I'm talking 2014 and 15, not today, it's 2022, I'm not talking about it. I'm repeating it, Krish. So the problem with ASA is, after acquiring and after releasing this X also, what is the problem? For Lena, box is one. For Lena, you have a different user interface. For SNOT, you have different user interface. So one box, all features, but two user interface, or you think in that way, two GUIs are there. Graphical user interface, one, and one is with the command line. So it's pretty much like two box only. What was the problem earlier? You have ASA, normal, and you have IPS. Two different box, two different IPs, and two different GUIs, two different user interfaces. What they achieved with the SNOT is, they club them into one box only, but still the user interfaces are two. That was the loophole at that time. And Palo Alto came back into the market with a buzz again, saying what? One box. What they said, one box, one GUI, take all the features. Take all the features. Now Cisco get a bad setback over here again. They got a very bad setback, after having that much successful acquisitions also, after releasing the hardware, also changes in the modulation into the hardware, they have molded the hardware. Again, I got a setback. Now Cisco has to do again something very new. Okay, they have to do something else. That is where they have introduced to the world. If you heard about it, let me know in the chat window how many of you heard about it. They have introduced to the world Firepower FTD. Anyone has heard about this box? FTD, Firepower. This is where the introduction has been done. After getting so much at the back, FTDs has been introduced by Cisco. What is the concept? Listen it. Now it makes sense. Boss, one box with both the engine, Lena as well as Snot. All features. And one GUI. And what? The one GUI concept. But they are doing what? They are always behind. They are always late in doing this thing. But to be at number one place, you have to always see what your rivalries are doing. Don't you think that the Palo Alto doesn't know about it? They are very smart. They know this thing also. They are working at the back end to do this sort of thing. They introduced Fire. Cisco was very happy. Was one box, one GUI, all two engines, fantastic, all features we are giving. Palo Alto came with a new thing. What was the new thing? Palo Alto says that you take our boxes, one box, all features, another box. Do you think that in a good corporate organization you have only one firewall? No, you're going to have multiple. You have multiple boxes. Or you might be having the remote location also. You have a headquarters, you have a headquarters in say, for example, India. Your branches are there in Saudi, you have the branches in London, you have in New York, Richardson, and many other places. You are being expanding. You might be having different firewalls around the globe. Yes, Ashraf. FTD has one image that is called as operating system of Ashraf, right? That is called as FXOS. That is going to come lately. So coming back to the Palo Alto. So Palo Alto says you have multiple box, still can be managed from one GUI. Anyone has heard about and know about the Panorama view in Palo Alto? Let me know in the chat window. Panorama. Anyone has heard about it? Panorama. What is Panorama? SDN architecture. One box can manage multiple box also. Cisco was having difficulty in that. So what Cisco was doing, if you have 3 boxes now, see how the story is going. One box, one GUI. Justified? One box, one GUI. One box, one GUI. One box, one GUI. All the features. But multiple boxes, multiple GUIs. What Palo Alto did? You have hundreds of boxes. Still you can manage from a centralized place. What you can do is, you can manage them from the centralized place. That is where, again, Cisco is late. Cisco is dead. This is called as vision. This is called as thinking. If you want to do something, do creative in your market. Palo Alto is keep on doing the creativity. Visions are fantastic. That's why they are number one. That's the simple reason. Cisco came up with this idea, but lately, like Cisco's, Palo Alto's centralized box is called as Panorama. Cisco's centralized one is called as FMC, Firepower Management Center. Centralized admin came later into the segment. So this is the story. Nothing to do with the CCI, but you need to know the background. So what are the takeaways from here? The module number 1, which we're going to learn, which we started, is your ASA firewall. Point number 1, adaptive, security, appliance. So what are the takeaways from this? Adaptive, security, appliance. Your ASA is a stateful firewall. What is a stateful firewall? Which allows the return traffic. How it does that? Because it builds the connection table. It learns something. It is an intelligent box. The ASA has, in today's world, what we're going to learn? 5500 series with X in the last. That means it has both Lena as well as Snot engine. Okay. Third, 5512 and 5516X in the last are the two models which will be the part of your CCI lab. Okay, they will be the part of your CCI. You will be tested on these two particular boxes. We're gonna predominantly doing what? Layer 3 and layer 4 in next 10 days will become an expert on this. For layer 7, we will wait for the next generation things to happen. SNOT will be learnt lately. We will be focusing next 8 to 10 days on the Lena. So that we can become an expert on the Lena, then we will move towards the SNOT. We'll not mix match together. We'll not do it. So we will be focusing on layer 3 and layer 4 filtering over the next 1 week. Okay. Having said that, these are basically nothing to do with the sessions and all. They are just built it up, right? Presentation layers and all, they have nothing to do with this. So we basically, where is the actual messages are being floating? That's basically over here at layer 3, layer 4 and layer 7 at the payload. Nothing to do with layer 5, layer 6. What's the major difference between Lena and SNOT? Lena is layer 3 and layer 7. Layer 3 and layer 4 filtering. SNOT is all about layer 7. You heard about Krish? Did you heard about deep packet inspection? DPI? Deep packet inspection? Malware inspection? No. So what is, okay. When it comes to the packet, right? If you see a packet, there are electrical bits, right? What do you call at layer 2? What is at the layer 2? Who is going to tell me? What do you call? What is the name? A layer 2, what do you call that thing? What is the layer 2? Is it packet, frame, datagram? What do you call this? Frame. Very good. Layer 3 is called as what? Layer 3 is called as what? Packets. Layer 4 comes later in the OSI layer. What do you call this? Segments, also datagram, PDUs, segments, different names are there. And then comes the layer 7. This is your actual data, huh? This is your actual data. Layer 7. Payload, you might have heard about it. This is your payload. So Krish, Lena works at this. This is your Lena. If I want to inspect my payload, I have to go deep into the packet. So when you are going deep inside the packet and you are doing the inspection, that is called as deep packet inspection, DPI. Is this clear now, Krish? Deep packet inspection. So when you go deep in the packet and then you want to inspect it out, that concept is called as deep packet inspection. And you do the deep packet inspection of what? The payloads. Because this is the place where the malwares are attached. Virus, Trojans, worms, you might have heard about it. Hackers over the period of time has been developed their skill set to the next level. I must say that they don't only realize that layer 3 and layer 4, they moved inside. They play with this. So this is where the SNOT comes. So your question was, what's the difference between Lena and SNOT? SNOT works at layer 7. Lena works for the layer 3, layer 4. Okay? Clear, Krishna? So these are the certain points that you should know about it. The next good thing, and any one of you in the group, take this opportunity. Whatever I'm writing on the sketchbook now, take a screenshot. In Windows, it's easy, or maybe in MacBook, those who are using. And in our group, keep on sending. On your desktop, you create a folder day-wise. Day 1. So you don't have to make a note of this. Just do what? Smart work. What is smart work? Whatever I'm writing over here, one guy, take a snapshot. Any one guy. And you should have a redundancy for that also. If that guy is not available, and someone at the backup should be there. So for that, You take the snapshot and send it on WhatsApp group. Those who are using WhatsApp on their laptop, generally anyone can do it. Anyone take this opportunity and do this. So it will be easy. Okay, let me know who's going to take it. Anyone who's interested? Anyone take this opportunity and do that. Snapshot and put it in our group. Or multiple people you keep on taking. Or you can take on your own also if you don't want to rely on it. That is another thing. Having said that, so next is what? Next, we will start from tomorrow, which is because this security level, I need at least 30-35 minutes to explain this, along with your stateful again will come. Stateful firewall concept. These two things will be part and parcel for tomorrow.